Well, hey there, listeners. It's Kath Langman here, and I want to extend a very happy new year to all of you. Welcome to the first episode of 2024. I can't quite believe that we're here now, and really, really excited to hit the ground running and make some big things happen this year. Last year was such a full-on year for everyone that I've spoken to, not just worked with, but spoken to. It was such a big year in so many different ways. Good things, challenging things, all of that kind of stuff. But we made it through that, and we are into the new year. I know that the clients that I work with have been saying to me, well, certainly they were saying to me in the lead up to Christmas that they really want to they still are ambitious this year, and they really want to achieve some new growth goals. But at the same time, they're really wanting to focus on creating two other changes in their business. Number one being focusing a little bit more on the bottom line, not just top line revenue growth, so that there's a little bit more for themselves in at the end of the day. But even more importantly than that is to not feel like they're on the back foot all the time, not feel like they're working day in, day out, really just jumping from one thing to the next and never feeling like they're getting ahead of the ball game. So really wanting to be a little bit more proactive, a little bit more organized, and a lot less reactive this year. So with all that said and done, that is why this episode is going to be a little bit about goal setting, but a little bit differently to how I might have done this kind of an episode in the past. So, back in December, I was challenged by, maybe requested is a nicer way of putting it, by one of my lovely team members, and she said to me, "Kath, could you maybe find a way to uh, talk about goal settings in a new way that feels a little bit, a little bit more tangible and a little bit easier to not just plan for, but maybe try and stick to and implement." So that's what I'm going to attempt to do today. And really, my goal is to help you start really strong this year, but also to finish strong this year. So I don't know that we'll be able to cover all of this in one episode, but we're going to certainly set you on the right path today. Before we dive in, though, I just want to mention to you that I have a brand new marketing playbook. It's my 2024 e-commerce marketing playbook that I have just released. You can get a copy for free. This is really a summary of what's been going on over the last year and the trends that are happening right now, and what I am predicting, and my team as well are predicting, will be the trends and the key things that we need to be focusing on in 2024 in order to enjoy the best possible results. Obviously, nobody has a crystal ball, of course, but I've been in this game for a long time now. Pretty sure it's about, this will be 24 years now. It's been a good long while. So I think I can say with a fair amount of confidence that there's some very good quality content in this playbook, and I would love to invite you to download it. You can get your copy by just heading to katherinelangman.com/playbook. And I will include a link in the show notes for today's episode. Now, without further ado, let's dive in. So, really, where I always find people's minds and attention go to when they want to start goal setting is they go straight for a revenue target for maybe the next 12 months, and then from there they jump to tactics. So tactics might be, I'm going to do this sale or that launch promo, or I'm going to do an affiliate program, really going straight for those tactics. And interestingly enough, kind of before, or would have been in December, before Christmas, I was reading a book, and I mentioned it in my last episode. and it is, oh my gosh, I'm just having a mental blank about what it's actually called. Something like The Art of um, Achieving the Impossible or something like that. And Stephen Kotler is the author. I can remember that bit. But anyway, um, in this book, he talks about how in order to, and this is talking about peak performance in general, but certainly that relates to business as well in a big way, right? Particularly for those of you who are attempting to build a business that you've never done before, which I'd say is probably most of us. And so, there's a whole lot of things that can be daunting about that. And we always start out doing these kinds of ventures full of passion, full of energy and motivation and inspiration and ideas about how we want it to be and this, that, and the other. And there's, inevitably there's going to be some challenges and hard times along the way, and it's very easy for those to kind of knock our confidence and all of that. And I've spoken about that stuff before on the show, but what I found quite fascinating in this book is that he really, and this is a guy who's done a whole lot of research into the neuroscience, neurobiology of peak performance. And, why is it that some people who are essentially the same as the rest of us, they're ordinary people, they don't have any extraordinary traits or talents or intelligence or money or anything like that, but yet they're doing extraordinary things. And so what are they doing that's different? And I think a lot of the time when we are feeling challenged by tough times, our motivation really takes a dive. And part of that is also that so many of us are kind of wired to receive validation externally. So we're looking for customers, clients, team members, spouses, anyone in our life to really tell us that we're doing a really good job, or that what we're doing is amazing or successful, or this, that, or the other. Even society has stereotypical standards that judge us, and we judge ourselves by these stereotypical standards, like money related or whatever. And if we feel like we don't match up to that, then that dents our confidence and our motivation as well. But in this book, he talks about how motivation, we automatically think that motivation is about the persistence part of things, like, are we persistent through those tough times? And that's what people correlate motivation to read. But motivation is actually made up of a number of things, and the first thing is actually drive, like what literally drives us to get started with something. And typically we are driven by the pursuit of something that we whether it's the pursuit of in historic times it would have been resources like food and shelter and warmth and all of that kind of stuff. But these days there'd be other pursuits. But we are in business, it's the pursuit of money partly, but there has to be more than that, because we are never going to be made happy just by pursuing money. Like, once we have a certain amount of money, science tells us that beyond that, more money doesn't actually make us happier. It might still be a yardstick that we use to measure our success, of course, but we need to find something else that is going to be our driver, because without that motivation daily to get out of bed and keep working towards our goals, then we're kind of not going to bother, certainly not consistently or as effectively as we might. So working out what is that driver. And for me, I've spoken, and probably some of you have heard me talk about this. I talk about starting your goal setting with a vivid vision exercise. And I think what I want to add to it from reading this Art of Achieving the Impossible book is that we need to find a driver that we enjoy and that brings us some amount of joy, and that relates to what we're aiming for in our business. So and I don't mean finding joy in just the mundane everyday tasks that we have to do. I mean, that would be like saying to me or to anyone, you have to find joy in the housework or whatever other chore that you have to do in your daily life. That would be, I'd rather poke my eye out with a fork than do that. But obviously those things have to happen, but we need to be, there needs to be some kind of joy that we find or that we're aiming towards creating in our business, so that we have something that pulls us through those challenging times, because we know that we're aiming for something that we love, right? And so that vivid vision exercise is about the longer term. This is not about your 12-month revenue goals. And sure, we might, then come back to those 12-month revenue goals. We will, but you've got to have something a little bit bigger than that than you're aiming for. And there's a couple of reasons as well. Obviously, we've just spoken at length, apologies, about, the motivational reasons why we need to have that bigger purpose that we're working towards. But secondly, and you've probably heard this saying before, as humans, our nature is to completely overestimate what we can achieve in 12 months and totally underestimate what we can achieve in 10 years. And I think the reason for that is that a lot of us just don't spend the time envisioning that longer term, bigger picture. So what you really want to do is to start with that exercise. Really start by describing what you are creating in the long term, and think about describing it in as much tangible detail as say the movie creators of the Marvel universe would have used to describe the Marvel universe. It's like anytime you go and see any Marvel movie, and I'm not even really a fan of them anymore, but I've seen plenty with my kids, you always like, it's a recognizable part of the Marvel universe. It doesn't matter what the characters are, you can sort of tell that it's part of that universe. And so, you really want to describe your business, your future business that you are creating in that much detail, and the surrounding components of it as well, not just the business entity, but describing all of your customers, all of the suppliers, all of the people whose lives that you might impact in whatever way that you will, depending on your business. And also, by finishing off saying, I want to be the go-to brand or store for XYZ, and like really describe that customer, that ideal customer. Don't describe it like, I want to be the go-to store for women to buy makeup. I mean, there's nothing inspiring or specific about that. So I really want you to get specific here. And then, obviously once you've done that exercise and you really thought about, what you are ultimately aiming for, then obviously bring it back to the 12 months. And at this point, it's about setting those revenue targets, but also thinking in terms of, what do I need to do in 12 months to be on track to achieving that, creating that vision, whether it's 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. Because there's probably a few things outside of revenue that you would need to be doing. In one of the other books that I mentioned on last week's podcast episode, actually there were two of the books mentioned the story of Mr. Beast, who's a massive YouTuber, and he had ways of describing the other sort of surrounding interim goals of things like, I want to have this many subscribers to my YouTube channel, and I want to have he probably had a few other sort of things along those lines. I don't remember what they were now, but it wasn't just a revenue target. So these were the things that he knew that he would have to have achieved in order to be on track to achieve his longer term vision and goals. So thinking about that 12 months, what revenue goals do you need to achieve, and any other things that you really need to tick off in order to be on track to achieving your big goal and vision. And the other reason that I just want to stop here and mention one other thing as well. So this kind of came up in conversation with a couple of my clients right before Christmas. We were doing a group planning session in our client group, and a couple of them were talking about how that they find it really hard to set 12-month goals because in the past they've done that and they've never achieved what they set out for, and then they just feel like shit, excuse my French, because they weren't and they weren't on track. And a little bit of that could have been because of the short-term thinking and really over egging what they would be able to do in 12 months, like we talked about earlier. uh, and then also because they hadn't taken the time or gone through the step of really articulating and describing that longer term vision. Because the thing is, between now and 12 months time, who knows what's going to happen? Like there's so many things that have changed over the last 12 months that you know you just actually can't have a crystal ball, right? And so the point is, with setting your 12-month goals, I mean, obviously you don't want to miss your revenue targets by such a wide margin that you go broke. Like that's obviously not the that's not the goal here at all. But you know, the more important mindset is to think about your 12-month goals as being heading in the pathway of achieving, heading along the path of achieving that longer term vision. And so the longer term vision is the ideal, and what you work on over the next 12 months is taking you towards that. And then in 12 months time, what you want to be doing is looking back at the last 12 months to measure your progress, not to berate yourself for not 100% achieving everything. All right. So 12-month targets, and then you really want to break that down month on month. You can do that, as accurately as you possibly can. My clients get the benefit of our projection tools and, all of our personal help as well. We've got lots of tools and templates to help with all of this kind of stuff. But, essentially you want to be looking back and try and kind of emulate the sort of sales cycle that you might have had, but adding on the kind of growth rate that you're looking for over the next 12 months. So you definitely want to be looking at that, and then you want to break that down into month on month. Where is the traffic and sales going to be coming from? And again, you can look at that historically and see what portion of your traffic and sales came from different channels. Certainly, you can also look at things like the campaigns that you may have run over the last 12 months to see what worked really, really successfully, so that that if you had a really excellent month one month and an average month the next month over the last year, have a look at what caused that. Was it just Black Friday craziness, or was it a product launch or some other promotion that you did that went really, really well? So you want to be learning from the history and making sure that you plan that kind of stuff out. But definitely working out how much at your average order value and your average conversion rate on your website, how much traffic do you need to be getting to your website? Is essentially, it's a numbers game, it's a mathematical equation. And once you know those figures month on month, it becomes a whole lot easier to actually, plan out the marketing moving it forwards. So I also wanted to talk today. I've got a couple of notes in front of me to remind myself so I don't forget. I really wanted to mention a couple of other things that I like to do when I am after I've done my goal setting. So you probably get the picture now that I do like this whole planning sort of process. I will say, I'll put my hand up and say, in the past, I definitely was the kind of planner who might get to the end of the year and see that I didn't achieve them all exactly and feel a bit miserable about myself. But I've thankfully learned some really solid strategies and mindset tricks to look at that differently now. But there are a couple of suggestions that I want to share with you about how you write your goals down and also how you track to them. So first of all, when you are setting your goals, you can do this with your personal goals as well as in your business. It doesn't there's no distinction in what kind of goal this works for. So you want to sort of split them up between habit goals and achievement goals. So for me, over the last year, one of my habit goals that I wanted to adopt was exercising 5 times a week. and, except for if I was sick or whatever. And I, because my life is so busy and so crazy, I literally um, put that stuff in my diary. So anyone who picks up my phone at a certain kind of day or time, they're going to see a little reminder that pops up about this kind of stuff. And I also put reminders in, just there's a few kind of nutritional sort of things that I've been, from a habit perspective, like drinking enough water and taking some magnesium at night and getting my breakfast ready for the next morning, just things like that. Because I don't know about you, but when I'm really busy, and especially in the evening when I'm really tired, I kind of forget about this stuff. I just want to go to bed and read my novel. So, or sleep, as the case may be. So habit goals is one type of goal, and then your achievement goals is the other type of goal. And I would say in your achievement goals, that's probably most of your business related ones, but there's going to be a whole lot of habit goals that make up the big achievements as well. So, when you do get to the point of actually mapping out your action plan and, what strategies that you're going to be doing, I mean, all of you should be doing certain strategies like email marketing, for example. You should always be consistently building your list and consistently sending out email campaigns. Email marketing should be a habit goal, that you send X number of marketing emails every week or every month, right? So when you're writing your goals out, you also want to write a few extra details than most people would. So most people are going to just say, my goal is to achieve 50% growth over the next year, or whatever that is for you. And maybe you might set monthly revenue targets. But what I want you to do is actually to with your goals, once you'll have your revenue goal, and then within that you might have a few kind of goals that are components to make up that revenue. It might be, I want to get this many visitors to my website every month. I want to get this many email subscribers every month. I want to, increase my website conversion rate to X, and I want to increase my average order value to Y, whatever that is, hopefully you know that your average order value and your website conversion rate are really important levers that you can manipulate to grow your revenue. So you want to write out those goals as SMART goals. So that's like really, be really specific. Don't just say a goal is I want to improve my conversion rate. Like, be specific. What is the specific amount that you want to achieve? Make sure that it's a measurable goal, that it's within the realms of achievement, within the realms of reality. Like, don't say I want to have a 30% conversion rate on my website, because that is completely unrealistic, right? And then time limited is the last thing as well. So, give yourself a time limit by when you want to have achieved that. So an example here might be, I want to improve my conversion rate from 1.5% to 2.5% in the next 6 months. And then, once you've set that goal, then you can start thinking about strategies to achieve that goal, which might be, number one, get a website audit. Number two, hire a website designer or a developer, or whatever the case may be. So, you'll be able to start really pulling out the strategies once you've set those SMART goals. But more than, further to that, so don't just stop there. And so the next part is really probably not relevant for really small goals, but for your big goals, this is going to really, really help. Write out your key motivations for wanting to achieve that goal. And this is for you personally. What motivates you? Why are you motivated to achieve that goal? What's going to be the benefit to you? What's in it for me? That WIFM, I love that statement. Then jot down just a couple of notes about what your next steps are. So this is like in the James Clear book about what was it called? Atomic Habits. How he, 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 ad- advises that if you want to improve your, um, your, 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 change your behavior. Changing behavior is a really, really hard thing to do. And so, if you have a bad habit and you want to change it into a good habit, or maybe you don't have a habit of exercising and you want to adopt a new habit of exercising, whatever, make it as simple as possible for you to just take the first step or the first two steps. So, you know, the first step might be that you commit to doing 5 minutes of exercise. And the first step that you have to do for that is to get all of your, get your sneakers and your socks ready the night before. Next, so that when you get out of bed, it's right there. You've got no excuses, right? And just make it as easy as possible to get started. Because once you get started with something, and you get a little bit of momentum, or you have a bit of attention and time and focus into the task, whatever it is, 9 times out of 10 you're going to do a whole lot more than you initially commit to. But because you made the commitment really easy and not too challenging or overwhelming, it's that's what stops us procrastinating and gets us moving. So writing down the next steps. Then also write down what you are going to do to celebrate when it's achieved, when you've finished this achievement goal. I love this one. There's nothing more effective, I don't think, than, at really reinforcing positive emotions about your business than by celebrating your achievements. I mean, what happens so often with entrepreneurs is we're always looking ahead at, even if we tick something off our list, we're always looking at the next thing. And, we're looking at the mountain that we haven't climbed yet. And, we often just don't take a moment to stop and smell the roses. It's such an effective mindset tool to just kind of really anchor in the positive feelings of achievement by having a little celebration. So it could be as small as, just going and enjoying a glass of champagne with a friend or your spouse or whatever. Or it could be something bigger and more meaningful. But whatever that is for you, write it down so that you've got that to look forward to. Actually, one crazy mentor that I had for a while, he actually had the carrot motivator, so what was going to be the celebration, and then he also had the stick motivator. So it was like, if you don't achieve this, what's the punishment going to be? And I don't know, I never really liked that very much, so I didn't adopt that one. And then, in terms of, helping you to stay on track, if it's a habit goal, have some kind of method of tracking your streak. So you could use a, like I use my planner book, so I just note it down in there. You could use, there's apps for keeping track. I don't remember that. I used to have an app for tracking my daily meditation. So when I was wanting to adopt a daily meditation practice, this is a few years when I was learning how to do it, I downloaded an app, and it was almost like, crossing off a calendar, and you had to try and have as many days in a streak without a blank cross, if that makes sense. I don't remember what it was called though. But there would be apps for that kind of stuff, or come up with a novel way for yourself. And then similarly with your, measuring your progress towards your achievement goals, it is really important to have something there. So with our clients that we work with, we have metrics tracking and sales and traffic tracking tools that we use, and we teach them how to use. So that's one way to do it. Another thing that, came up in our client group, actually, which I think would also be super effective, is finding an accountability buddy for this kind of thing. So, if you can meet up on a monthly basis, it can be on Zoom, if you like, to have that sort of an accountability thing. So for me, I actually have a mentor that I meet with once on a month, and he's kind of my accountability person for some of the big things that I'm working on. And then I have, my kind of, spreadsheet tracker system that I use internally in the business as well, just to track, the progress towards some of the other smaller goals that we're working towards. And So that's how I do it. But I just wanted to make mention, if you do the accountability buddy type thing, you've got to find someone whose planning personality is opposite to yours. If you love being in kind of, thinking ahead and describing your vision and working on the planning side of things, but you really suck at the implementation and staying on task, find someone who's opposite to you. This is a little bit like the visionary integrator kind of personality dichotomy, which is described in, I'm pretty sure it's the book called Rocket Fuel. And in fact, if you look that book up online, they have a quiz that's free, and it will tell you if you're the visionary or the integrator. So for them, the integrator is like your operations person or your project manager type personality who loves doing, that detail, ticking things off side of things. And whereas I think the visionary role, that's a personality, that's fairly obvious what that is. And it's really hard to be both. It's not impossible, and it's, to a certain extent, it's something that you can learn for sure. I have heard multiple people say that visionaries can usually operate in the integrator role up to a certain revenue level in their business, maybe 2 million, and then a year, that is, and then they really need somebody operational to take them further. Otherwise, all the wheels just start to fall off. So that's kind of what I wanted to go through with you today. Obviously, I haven't really touched on actually, deciding on your strategies and all of that kind of stuff. I do have other episodes on that, but, really wanted to just today kind of go through that goal setting in a slightly different way, and hopefully talk about it in a way that is a bit more tangible for you guys, and that, certainly designed to help you really start strong in 2024. Another quick mention again, if you missed it at the start, if you want to get my brand new free e-commerce marketing playbook, this is the 2024 e-commerce marketing playbook. It's a really comprehensive PDF that you can download for free. So you can just head to catherinelangman.com/playbook and you can download that for free. Additionally, if you have worked through your vision and goal setting exercise, and then you really want to get some help with the strategy and the implementation side, we do, of course, have, different options that suit different stage of business and how much revenue you're at and all of that kind of stuff. So if you want to book in for a free strategy session and get our help on that kind of strategy side of things, you can absolutely do that as well. All you need to do is head to productpreneurmarketing.com/let's-talk. That's a long URL. I will get the link in the show notes for this podcast episode. That's all I have for you today. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Again, Happy New Year. I hope you are doing amazing, and I look forward to interacting with some of you this year, 2024, and really creating something amazing this year. Bye for now.